Hello everyone, welcome back to Cross Country Flight. Remember in the last episode we crossed Texas, the last bit of Texas into, well, Interstate 10, which we took into Texas, and the engine keeps conking out, but we'll take care of that. We start a new trip into a new state of New Mexico today. So, without further ado, I'll deal with the engine later. It seems to be conking out. Is there mixture problems? Let me just cut the mixture a bit. It's not going to start. Yeah, see how it's not going to start because the mixture's all the way out? There, maybe that'll work. I don't think it's going to work. Alright, so we're flying to Deming, New Mexico. Didn't work. Alright, we're gonna have to, let's turn on the engine when we start headed out of this place. So, let's tune into Echo 35 traffic. Announce that we're gonna be taking off from runway 16, because we can.
Echo 35 traffic, Cessna,
Alright.
November 29er Papa Hotel is taxiing to runway 16.
Let's do with the full throttle and let's see what's in front of us. Is there anything in front of us? Is there anything behind us? Nope. Alright, so we have full throttle. There, maybe that'll help the engine stay warm. Maybe the engine just needed to be a bit warm. Maybe that's the problem. I have no idea. And we're going the wrong way. Because why would we be going the right way? Huh? Why just wouldn't we? We have to be going this way. Is our pilot. He's looking around to make sure that... I think we're going a bit too fast. Help. And possibly a bit too fast there. I'm just trying to keep the engine warm so it doesn't conk out on us. Alright. This is the runway we're taking off out of, so I need to head to the end of it, which is about here-ish. So, of course, we forgot to turn on lights. Pitot, we don't need. Come on, we need to go farther. We'll handbrake turn it if we have to. Alright. This is a pretty small runway, but we'll try to make it worthwhile. Whoa, it says we're getting to Deming. Oh, that's because, well, we're not up to speed just yet. That, I don't think it was the best runway to take off at. Now, before we start tilting whatever which way, we just need to double check on where exactly the highway is. So we took off southbound, and Interstate 10 runs east to westbound, but specifically northbound. The first we need to do is make a turn toward the highway. No, to be honest, I don't think that was a big enough turn. I'm trying to see where the traffic is. But, oh, there it is. We barely turned, that was the problem. Come on, let's get on with this turn. We need to make up for lost time. Yeah, so if you remember, we got tucked into a part of Texas that was somehow on Pacific time for some wacky reason. We ended up crossing 2 time zones in one episode. But don't worry, because we're recrossing that time zone barrier. Wait, are we? Let me just check that. I don't think we are. Yeah, we are, actually. We're still in that Pacific time, whatever that was. But, please don't ask me what else happened. So, we are on the interstate. we got one more city before crossing into New Mexico, and that is El Paso, or as they call it on the Mexico side, they call it Ciudad Juarez. Now your question for me is probably, how do we know when we've crossed into New Mexico? But we're not going to worry about New Mexico yet, because you know what we haven't worried about? El Paso, and how we're going to get through, and what highways do we need to take in order to be safe. Now, I will keep us out of Mexico so that Donald Trump isn't spying on us the whole time. We will keep us at least 5 miles away from New Mexico. I mean, not New Mexico, that's where we're going. Mexico. I'll just keep you away from Mexico, don't worry. Now, people from Mexico, it's not that I hate Mexico, it's just that this is cross-USA flight. And I'd kind of like to stay in the US. I don't want to have to deal with border crossing and all that. I have nothing to hate about Mexico. I have never been to Mexico. I just don't want Donald Trump spying on us the whole time. That and the fact that I want to keep this cross-country flight. Which just means cross-US flight. Fortunately, you will not be getting close to the Rio Grande until we get into Las Cruces. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what the crap is Las Cruces? Las Cruces is a city in New Mexico. I know, the American Truck Sim New Mexico map has only been announced a month and a half ago, so people who have been learning about the country via American Truck Sim have no idea half the cities I'm going to be explaining, because New Mexico isn't an American Truck Sim. For those of you who know some crap about New Mexico, good for you. You're going to have a fun time with this. And people who play American Truck Sim, you're going to get a sneak peek at some of the cities in New Mexico. So look forward to that. For example, Las Cruces, and we're landing in Deming, New Mexico. But before we even could talk about New Mexico, we still got like 20 miles of Texas to get through. And a lot of it looks to be hilly. It sure is a warm afternoon here in Texas. It's 87 degrees. Right now, real life, not in game life. Real life, it's 83 over there in Texas, not here. I live in Canada, where it's like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So 83 degrees Celsius, no, not very Celsius, because that's over boiling temperature. Well, not over boiling temperature. Okay, you know what I mean. It's desert temperatures. Alright, back on topic. 83 degrees Fahrenheit's gotta be about 25 to 27 degrees Celsius. Around there. Considering that if it gets 72 degrees Fahrenheit room temperature, which I think is about 17 to 18 degrees Celsius. That's not right. Oh well, I'm just guesstimating here. I have no idea. Have we crossed back into the correct time zone? We have not. For some reason, that part of Texas is on the wrong time zone. Hold on, let me just look up. Let me just look this up because I don't get it at all. Why that's the case. I don't get it. We're supposed to be on Mountain Daylight, so do not ask me why it's Pacific Daylight Time. Because keep in mind, we left, where you call it? We left that Pecos town, it was like 5 o'clock, and we flew for nearly an hour and a half. We left at 5:43 game time, and we flew for an hour and a half, and we got here at, what was it, 5:15? That's not normal. We left Central Time Zone, and we get into Mountain, we cross Mountain, and we go into Pacific Time Zone. I mean, what the crap? I have no idea, because I just looked up the local time, and right now in Fobbins, and it was in Mountain Daylight, so I don't know why we're currently in, what do you call it, Pacific Daylight. We're still in it. I don't know why. We're not even in Arizona, where we're going to be crossing into Pacific time, because Arizona doesn't go to daylight savings time because it's just too costly. They can't afford it, Arizona, so they just keep the same time. So in February, they're in Mountain Time, Mountain Standard. So, to keep things short, Arizona's on Mountain Standard Time all year. They don't change to Mountain Daylight, they stay Mountain Standard, which during DST will change to Pacific Daylight. But Mountain Standard is the correct way because that's just how you say it. Looks like we're coming into El Paso because, well, we're coming up to Kilo Echo Lima Papa Airport, which is El Paso, in case they kind of figured that out there. El Paso. In case you didn't get that, which some of you should have. Now we're just waiting to get out of range of Echo 3-5 traffic so that we can contact departures and look at interesting airport names. Yeah, traffic's getting denser. It appears to be that we will be getting into El Paso eventually. El Paso International is right on the side of the road, so it should be easy to tell when we're coming up on it. Yeah, we'll be going through two cities, El Paso and Las Cruces. Las Cruces, whatever you call it. Las Cruces will be in American Truck Sim very soon, probably within another few months. Who knows, it could be next week. But don't get your hopes too high, because that's when it takes friggin' forever for something to come. I mean, they announced the Arizona DLC in American Trucks in 3 months before, so it wouldn't be a surprise if it takes until May to get New Mexico in the game of American Truck Sim. But enough about American Truck Sim, and let's talk about El Paso for a minute. So, El Paso is, you cross the Rio Grande. It's still El Paso, but instead they call it Ciudad Juarez, in which my Mexican accent just sucked right there, and you can completely tell that I'm not from Mexico. I am from Europe. But please do not complain, because we have cross Europe flight, and if I just keep going, and if I just keep planning series like cross Europe flight, and eventually people are going to want to say, do cross America flight. And I can't do cross America flight if we're doing cross US flight right now. I already did the first episode of cross Europe flight, which we're probably not going to get to for a while. We're going to probably have to wait till fall. But we got to wait till this series is just about over before I can get cracking on a couple more episodes of cross Europe flight. Now, cross Central America flight, I don't think. How about cross Pan American flight? I'm sorry, but I'd have to start cross Pan American flight now. Well, not now, but I'd have to start it here, precisely. I'm not starting it all the way up at, like, Minnesota. I'm not doing that. It's hard enough that I'm trying to handle this series. It's been 9 months since, actually it's been 8 months since the first episode, and we're not even halfway through with the series yet. Time for interesting junction hype. This is the junction between US 54 and Interstate 10. So El Paso Airport's pretty much behind us. Now, I will give you a slight warning when we get above 54. So, I just paused. If you look to the left, not to the right, to the left, you will see the Rio Grande and the crossing into Mexico, which I'm not going to get ourselves into today. Mexico is for another time. And since we're doing cross Europe flight, cross Pan American, 2019, hopefully, LOL. Going to El Paso reminds me, we should probably do a door opening ceremony. Hereby going through El Paso currently, which sits alongside the Rio Grande, which just around the bend in the Sunset Heights area, we will get to the closest point to Mexico in the series. So the closest to Mexico in the series. Now, I think it's time for a door closing ceremony. Goodbye, door. Alright. We're not close to Mexico just yet. We still got a couple turns and bends to take care of, but this is pretty much it. This is the closest we will get to Mexico the entire series. I know I was saying that before, but this is the actual closest. Look, that's the river. That's how close you are to Mexico. Mexico is just past that river. That's how close we are to Mexico. Literally. Just cross that river and you're in freaking Mexico. Oh shoot. Hold on a second. Let's try not to break our promise of not. Seriously, this is the closest you will get to Mexico the entire series. So enjoy it while it lasts. Shoot. This is how close you are to Mexico that just that separates you. I mean, this bit of land can't be more than a mile. I'm just trying to straighten it up, but I keep messing it up, and it's not good at all. Yep, so it's the closest you'll ever get to Mexico. We will cross the Rio Grande just west of Las Cruces, but Mexico will be far south of us by then. because we have to go slightly north to reach the rest of Interstate 10. So you're probably asking us, what defines the difference between Texas and New Mexico? And to be honest with you, it's nothing that really is. It's just a land border. It's not a water border like Mexico was. So probably the best way to... I'm seriously a bit sick of the fact that we just keep having to do that. By the way, you can now fly through poles because somehow anti-collisions are on now. So by the way, that road right there, that is... I don't actually know what that is. Don't worry, New Mexico's upon us. Alright, we have finally officially changed to the correct time zone. So, yay! Sun would be setting at about a couple hours game time, 1 or 2 hours game time, which is pretty decent, gotta say. So we have to get past this place called Anthony. Actually, Anthony is in New Mexico and Texas. So yeah, we gotta watch out a bit for that, but there's an RV campground on the Texas side. Now in real life, that's what we'd be using to figure out when the crap we're gonna get into New Mexico. Also in real life, we'd be facing this with this screen, so yeah. Don't worry, New Mexico is there for when we cross in. But did you just see how close we were just to Mexico back there? I mean, that's El Paso for you, so you want to get a small taste of Mexico without having to venture 500 miles into the country? Visit El Paso. Really close to the border. Did you see the amount of land that just separated this highway from Mexico? I mean, it's just astonishing. It's kind of like Buffalo, New York, which just gets really close to Ontario. And when I mean close, I mean slightly closer than that. Actually, I don't know if I can say that it's closer than that. I think that's closer than Buffalo and Ontario. And literally, you cross from Buffalo to Ontario, and it's like you went from New York City and you hopped on the Jersey Turnpike. Or for those of you from California, you hopped on the 101 out of Los Angeles, and all of a sudden you're seeing beach. That's literally the difference. Except it's a stronger, it's probably closer to the New York difference than to the California difference. In another case, we got a bit of time before we hit New Mexico and leave the state of Texas, which we have been crossing for like 6 or 7 episodes. We will eventually be getting into California, and after California, we can assure that Los Angeles will come soon after that. We will be entering New Mexico with a door opening ceremony because I'm telling you, that was a pretty long trip. And why are the cars on the eastbound sign sometimes driving on grass? I mean, the highway textures aren't the best in the world, considering they're 10.5 years old, these graphics. But still. Actually, they'll be 10.5 years old in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks from... Actually, 3 weeks from Monday. They'll be 10.5 years old, these graphics, which is pretty interesting. That's big because it's kind of better to use FSX because in X-Plane, I don't know if I've just been seeing videos in X-Plane of very low traffic settings, or that the roads suck and the buildings don't suck, but we're getting close to New Mexico. I think you could say that we could count on... Yeah, it's probably soon, so we'll stay in the cockpit until we reach New Mexico. Then we'll have a door opening ceremony. In fact, let's open the door now. Get ready for the crossing into New Mexico. As we get closer and closer to the state of New Mexico. That line separates us from the long trek that we just took through Texas to the much shorter trek that we'll be taking through New Mexico. And here it comes. Here it comes. You can taste that border crossing. Welcome to the state of New Mexico. Damn. And the door's open. Let's close it now. So, you could give us a round of applause, or you could just say, well, New Mexico is just gonna give us a round of more troubles. But New Mexico actually isn't gonna give us a lot of troubles, because New Mexico is only going to... How do I put this? New Mexico's only taking us through half of New Mexico, because Interstate 10 cuts through in the center of the state. It doesn't cut through, for example, Interstate 40. You enter at the western border, which, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say is, I think it's Kansas. Let me just look. Nope, it's Texas. Yeah, so here's the thing about Interstate 10 to Interstate 40. On Interstate 10, you got the hell load of Texas to get through. But in Interstate 40, you have the hell load of New Mexico to get through. And to tell you the truth, the hell load of New Mexico is a lot less grinding than the one of Texas. But now that we're out of Texas, I must forbid myself from saying Texas often. So I can't forbid it from saying it all the time, because I know classmates just get the overpowering joy from me saying this, saying Texas in a southern accent. But but what's the point of talking about Texas? We're in New Mexico. Why are we even still talking about Texas? We should be talking about New Mexico. Now, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Don't get excited about New Mexico being a new state in American Truck Simulator, or even in this series. Please don't get too excited. Okay, I don't know why Siri on my phone just got activated, because I thought I said earring. degrees. Or minus it seriously, whatever. Anyway, New Mexico, just like Arizona, California, and Nevada American Truck Simulator, is desert, desert, and more desert. I mean, it's completing historic Route 66 down Interstate 40, but other than that, it's not doing much. Other than adding more freaking desert to the American Truck Sim, which instead of acting like it's proposed to be a new state. Oh yay, a new state. Yeah, you might get some new cities like Las Cruces, Albuquerque, Gallup, Deming. You might be getting those towns and cities, but other than that, you're not getting jack else. Now, do keep in mind, we're not covering Interstate 40 in this series because we had to pick from Interstate 10 or Interstate 40 to cross the country with, and we picked 20 and 10, Interstate 20 and Interstate 10 to cross. We did not pick Interstate 40. Interstate 40, the difference would have been we wouldn't have gotten the crap load of Texas that we just endured. But please, if we would have taken Interstate 10 through Texas, it would have been a lot more of Texas to cross. And don't get me wrong, Texas is good, but it's the only state that we've crossed during the year 2017 in this series. So in 2017, we need to cover more of this series and get through more states. Now that we crossed the monster of it all, Texas, we now have New Mexico, which the Eisenhower interstate system has graced us with the fact that we don't have to cross all of New Mexico. We crossed some of that part of New Mexico, parallel of New Mexico in Texas. But New Mexico is going to cover this episode, and the next episode will be in Arizona. Oh yeah. So yeah, my goal to get to California by April 2nd, or no, I think the goal was to get to Los Angeles by April 4th. I think that was it. But I don't even think we're getting into, well, sure, we have Arizona to cross, but Arizona is going to take a bit to cross. Arizona isn't the smallest of states, and even in American Truck Simulator, it takes a while to cross on Interstate 10. Because first you have to enter through, an American Truck Sim. We gotta go through Tucson and then into Phoenix. And then we have to cross a small town called Ehrenberg, which takes us into, I forget what it's called. It's not Needles. Needles is Interstate 40. The town is called Blythe, in California. And on Interstate 40, I know in California there's an agricultural station where I think there's some sort of plant that's frowned upon. I have no idea. There's something in California that just don't allow. Or some sort of insect, I think it is, and that's just attracting to certain plants or something like that. And if you're carrying those type of insects, you can't enter California. Now, if they hear you're going into so if ATC, if you tell the airport that you're going to California, they're probably going to test you to make sure. No, I think I know what it is. I think it's because there's some sort of desert insect or something like that, and they don't want you bringing it into LA or something like that. I have no idea. Seriously. They're estimating another 25 minutes in the air before reaching Deming. In case you didn't see, I published a longest detour ever skit video, and if you haven't watched it yet, check it out. But it featured the town of Deming. That's kind of where the climax is, and it looks like we're in Las Cruces. This is where we get to the junction of Interstate 25 and Interstate 10. We're going northbound right now, so it makes sense that Interstate 10 goes this way. That's Interstate 25 that goes that way. And what am I getting myself into? Where are we going? Hold on a second. I think I just followed some of the cars that... Alright, hold on a second. I'm a bit mixed up here. Alright, this is northbound. We need westbound. That's eastbound. Actually, we don't need westbound. We need northwestbound. I'll figure it out. We can still gotta keep circling. Circle. La da 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 da. Farther. And stop. Where's Interstate 10? It's my question. Where the crap is it? Let me see here, because I think we got a bit mixed up here. Alright, what direction is that highway headed in? It's headed in a... I think that might be it. Let me just check it out. It's not going north. This makes sense here. There's still... Oh look, the Orbit guy that we saw at the airport. Remember the guy that was parked? The Dash? He's taken off now. Nice. You know, the guy we parked next to last episode. Alright. I am praying that this is it. Because, you know. Well, now Las Cruces isn't really that important. Now, due to the anti-collisions, we can now go through cell towers. Yay! I remember one of my patience test videos, I was trying to pull up from a cell tower that was in the middle of the highway in LA, and we crashed into it. We were literally upward. It looked like we were a dog begging the cell tower when we came into contact with it. The life of an unpopular YouTuber in his making of videos. After Las Cruces, you can guarantee that it's pretty much desert until we get past Rain Shadow, and which Rain Shadow's not a town, it's an effect. That because precipitation doesn't easily go through mountains, that's how it creates deserts. And once we get past Las Cruces, that's an effect. Desert will rest of the way. And it being 87 degrees Fahrenheit, that's not so good. But do keep in mind that there is still civilization along the way. Now let's do that because we can. And let's go into the desert. In real life, currently over here in March, it's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Currently here it's 87 in August. Now I'm sure in real life it's about 90 over here in the summer. don't worry, because by summer we'll be probably tackling the Nevada desert, or probably headed up Wasatch Mountains. Hopefully we'll be farther than that. But then I just realized something now, that when I go to Europe and I pre-record footage for videos, I can't do any cross-country flight episodes. Unless... because I'm going to be gone, and I'm still going to be creating cross-country flight while I'm here, so unless I can figure out something, I'm not going to be able to do cross-country flight. I mean, maybe the last couple of weeks, maybe the last week or two, I can get a couple cross-country flight episodes up, but then again, the series isn't really popular, so it doesn't matter. That's kind of why we've been at a slightly slow pace in the production of these videos. That's pretty much why. So, let me just take a look again on how far we are from Deeming. 42 nautical miles. It's not that bad. Pretty short episode. It's been... okay, we left it at 5:13. It's currently... well, it was 6:13 local time. It's game time. Local game time. And it's currently 6:55. So it's been about 42 minutes. Surprisingly, 42 minutes have passed and we still got 42 nautical miles left. That's a coincidence, but... yep, the sun is starting to set on the desert. I mean, not yet. We still got a bit before sunset in-game. All I can tell you is that we're crossing time zones in the next episode. So, for the last 3 episodes, for this episode and last episode we crossed 2 time zones. Don't ask me why it was 2. Don't ask me why it wasn't only 1. And this episode we crossed back into the time zone we should have been in. And that next episode, we're probably going into Arizona. I don't know for sure. We probably will be getting into Arizona, or at least close to Arizona. I know I said Arizona earlier, but probably not going to get into Arizona next episode. Considering I aim to have 135 mile jaunts down the interstate, it's not surprising that we're a bit behind. I was expecting to be down in Colorado or Kansas by this time, but currently we're on the other side, and we still have a map to cover it. So sometime next week, I'm going to try to promise another episode of cross-country flight to, see if we can get closer or possibly into the state of Arizona. Now I do have a couple warnings. We're getting into the desert territory, so there might be lacks of airports, which means there might sometimes be shorter episodes. There might sometimes be long as hell episodes, or episodes where we have to take the state road, so you don't get to see the bustle of desert traffic for the entire episode. Or I know one point in California we have to take California 152, which isn't going to be given traffic because only interstates are given traffic in FSX to limit frame rate issues. So California 152 goes directly through a forest, as you've also seen in American Truck Sim. It goes through forest and desert, because we have to make our way to it's a suburb of San Jose. I think it's called Campbell, California. Yeah, I think it's Campbell, California. I don't know if that's a real town or if it's just a town that they've showed us, but it's the town that I've given us to do as another waypoint. Now our next waypoint currently is Los Angeles, which is far. El Monte to be exact. But in case you didn't realize, just because we've crossed mammoth-sized Texas doesn't mean that California is right around the bend, because while in certain terms it is, in most terms it really isn't. And we still have a lot more map. We still have a lot more FSX map to get through before LA, and it's the second time I've hit the freaking keyboard this whole time. Anyway, back in time. Now do keep in mind, we just because that does not mean we are 3 states away. New Mexico, Arizona, California. Which we're already in New Mexico, so it's a head start. We only have Arizona and California left to traverse through. Now, meanwhile, while we're doing that, we also have to think about this. Now, there's this YouTuber that I watch, and he just does not understand that states get smaller when you head up east, because you get close to the original 13 colonies, and back in the late 18th, early 19th century, you weren't creating colonies that were as huge as Texas. Texas didn't come till the mid-19th century, and Texas isn't even the largest state. It took till the mid-20th century to get Alaska, which is the largest state. And it's the second to last state, too. Hawaii being the last state. Because I think it was Alaska, I think it gained statehood, I think it was beginning of January 1959. And it was like August of 1959 when Hawaii became a state or something like that. Which makes sense because... Actually, it doesn't make sense. Actually, there's no point in it making sense because you could visit Hawaii at any time. What doesn't make sense is why was Alaska gaining statehood in the winter, in its low season. I would have expected Alaska, a state like that, to be getting statehood when it's just been more focused on, because in the winter, what Alaska literally does is during the winter, Alaska pretty much only gets 3 hours of sunlight a day. I mean, seriously, in parts of Finland, sunset literally means the sun going 80% below the horizon for about 15 minutes and then rising back up at like midnight. That's literally what happens in parts of Finland in the summer. And in Alaska, in the winter, that can happen too. Where it's dark and the sun won't rise at all for like 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. We're getting closer to Deming, to Kilo Delta Mike November. We are 28 nautical miles. We are still not disconnected off E35, which means that all we need are some avionic shutdowns. Maybe just flicking it off. Hopefully won't create a spark. Hopefully won't create sparks. Okay, it looked like it didn't, which is good. Because why would that happen in a simulator? Why would turning on the lights a lot of times cause a spark? I mean, it can cause it in real life, but not necessarily in a sim. I don't even know if the radio lights are high voltage enough to actually cause a spark failure and, worst case, an explosion. Which this load of cars is probably gonna cause trucks, jackknifing, and whatnot in the air, and passengers getting flung out of cars and burned to death. It would just be so gruesome. Why would someone do that? I'm wordless on who would, actually. At least with the people I know, I mean. I don't know personally anyone who's willing to drive out to the middle of the country and set a spark plug on fire and blow up the interstate. I mean, I personally don't know someone. I'm hoping you don't know anyone. If you do know anyone, do not tell them that you saw this video. And if I find out that my video is what caused them to do it, that is not going to stop me from making more content. Because see, Bakari is not responsible for acts that I talk about, no matter how gruesome they are. I am not responsible. Because I'm just acknowledging that it would be gruesome and pretty much idiotic, because I'm not giving away details on why, but if you understand why it's idiotic to do it here, then don't mention it. But let's get our minds off that. I know, a bit hard to do, right? Now, I don't think turning the avionics on and off, even in real life, I don't think it would cause a spark plug failure unless the spark plugs were that broken. But seriously sucks that I can't get off that frequency. I wish I could touch down and maybe they'd ask me to contact something, but it's not working. As you saw, all it did was change some of the messages, I think. I don't think they even did that. Which, I think it's starting to suck because, well, possibly if I maybe tune out of this frequency. I'm gonna tune out of this frequency slightly. Let's see what happens. It's not working. Alright, let's hope that that's changed a couple things for us. Are we going as fast as possible? I guess that's what they mean by fast as possible. I mean, I understand that we're 4,200 feet above sea level. This plane, however, is not sluggish, and it's not going to necessarily let us down now. We shall land on runway 26 at Deming Airport. Now, we still got a while, so I'm cutting through here because we need to save a slight bit of time by cutting through some desert. So cutting through some desert is not going to take us directly toward the airport. What it's going to do, did not mean to click that. But in case you want to see, this is just pretty much mapping out. This is how Interstate 10 looks, besides this derped upness, and our spin out right there on the map. This is just pretty much the map of Interstate 10. Alright, back on track. Those are the... Speaking of tracks, that's the railroad! All aboard. Now, here's how I know that traveling this way, no matter how long of a shortcut it is going to take us before we reach the airport. On my map, it says that Interstate, the Deming Municipal, Kilo Delta Mike November, is south of Interstate 10, outside of the town of, just east of the town of Deming, New Mexico. And then but. Okay, enough with the conjunction type. If it's signaling that we're too far west. Okay, this is where we get a bit geographic nerd hype. If we're going too far, actually now we're kind of surpassing the airport, so let me get a bit nearer to the highway so we can kind of see what we're going against. As you can see, Deming Airport. Well, as you can't see unless you're looking at a map, Deming Airport is south of Interstate 10, and if we're too far to the east, and we're going westbound, and we're pointing toward the southwest, then how could Deming Airport be upon us? I'm gonna raise the nose a bit. By a bit, I mean a lot. When you don't see Deming Airport, you go down to ground level and forget you even did what you did. And you continue flying at ground level. What you could also do is go to your good old map. Your map is your buddy when you're on a road trip. Without your map, you don't know where to go. If you don't know where to go, you have no signal, you can't pop out Apple Maps or Samsung Maps and say, "Hey Siri dude, I want you to take me to wherever the crap." And there's no signal, it's not going to take you there. You're going to need a map, and a trusty old map, as many road trip sites will tell you. I can't even name a specific road trip blog, because I've seen like 5 road trip blogs that say, "Bring a damn map with you when you travel." Okay, they never said it exactly that way, but they said it just about that way. Their secret tone being a tone that they're not saying on purpose, but they're not implying it, but they're it's kind of a, what do you call that? It's not called white lie when you tell them certain details. I think white lie is when you tell someone that, I forget. I think it's called implied. For example, So for example, if we were talking about how, oh right, I was talking about the tone of voice, right? So for example, I was implying No, I was acting like my tone of voice was just in a freaking map, on the road trips. But my actual tone was, if you're gonna bring a doggone map with you on a road trip, you will not. And I swear, you will not. Nowhere to go when you're stuck in the desert with no signal, and Tucson is 300 miles away. That, my friends, is not the situation that anyone wants to get stuck in, which is why bring a map with you on your travels, or if you're an Eisenhower Interstate System highway nerd, then you could just memorize the highway system. Now, I don't suggest this to anyone, but if you like memorizing where crap is, then I seriously suggest the second option, which is just know where you're going before you leave a major city. Know what highway you're planning on taking, what exit. I mean, you don't have to memorize the entire highway system and where it goes and where to go. All I'm asking is for you to say, well, by the way, there's the sun getting ready to set. Other than that, let me just keep explaining what I was going to say. At least, so for example, if you're trying to cross the gap, we're currently trying to cross the gap in FSX. We're trying to cross the gap between Las Cruces and Tucson, which my guess is about 300 miles away. Actually, it can't be 300 miles away because we're going to be getting close to Tucson in the next episode, so it's got to be like 150, 200 miles away. You should at least know, well, we're taking Interstate 10, and we're following it into Tucson. And then once you go, and then you can, I don't know if there's a historical side of Tucson. All I know about Tucson is that I know nothing about Tucson. It's close to Mexico. Not as close as you think. Not as close as we were just earlier this episode to New Mexico. I can assure you. Okay, I'm gonna raise the nose again. Alright, I think that's the runway we're trying to land on. Right there. Because we're going westbound, and that's the westbound runway, I'm guessing. So in case you are curious and you want to know what that road is right there, that's New Mexico State Route 549. In case you'd like to know. Now, we're going to head into the virtual cockpit for a sec, and then we're going to change back into the other cockpit view. There's Texas 549, which turns into business I-10, which trucks are still allowed on, but I don't know, certain vehicles aren't allowed on? I have no idea. Why they're even business roads, first of all. Interstate system means that interstates. But then again, Interstate 110 in LA doesn't allow trucks. Yep, I'm so talking about interstates right now. Runway 26. Okay, cut the throttle. Flare. There we go. Let's touch down. Turn off here. Actually, we'll drift off it. Just to let you know, that's not over the short. You need to be off the runway. So we're off the runway. Now what? Now we release the flaps. Check the left wing, see if there's any parking there. Nothing to our left. Then you need to go over here and check the right. I mean, not the left, the right. No, not the left. Not the right is what I meant, the left. Let me see. Is there any parking? I hope there's parking at this place. Let me check a tower view. They don't give us a tower view. Let's head in here, because in case the game crashes, I don't want, from that view, I want to be able to see what time it is. There's the parking area. I see it. Let's head back in the cockpit. I don't know what that is. I think that's a light, where I think what it does is if it's night and you want to land, you're able to see where you're going as you're flying into the airport. It's kind of like a strobe of some sorts. So let's just park right here. Alright, let's make sure that's good, which it is. Alright, we'll turn off all the lights. Master switch is off. Avionics off. Wait, this is yeah, that's the clock where we have to. Alright. We can't zoom in any farther. Can we at least? No, we can't. Alright. Doesn't matter. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that episode of Cross Country Flight. We're now in a new state of New Mexico, which it's not going to be as different as Texas. The only thing I can consider it's going to be different than Texas is possibly Arizona. We might go by a couple of interesting rocks. Well, sedimentary rock formations. Other than that, I'm suggesting desert until we'll be headed to Northern California, where we'll get some interesting scenery. But until then, it's just desert, and unfortunately, that's all I can offer you. So, I will see you in the next episode. But first, we must do this, where we go like this, and see that it said 1921-20 when I just flick that on. Let me just make sure again, because why not? Yep, that's what it said. So, that's good. We'll head back to the view, give you a nice view before we leave, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cross Country Flight. I will see you in the next episode.